Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says the H5 offers a COVID vaccine patent pathway. This article here is speaking about voluntary licensing. What should be done to bring an end to COVID 19? On a lighter note, we should ask the viruses to move away from the human beings. We should request nature to completely dilute the impact of virus. Since this is not working, what is the ideal way? The ideal way is to increase the vaccine production. But as of now, we have limited scope because there are only few companies which are able to produce the vaccines. So what is the alternative to this? The alternative to this is that more companies will have to start manufacturing and producing the vaccines. But there are patent owners, there are companies which do not want to do so. But ideally, vaccines need to be made affordable and available in massive quantities in order to bring an end to COVID 19. What are the tools that we currently have? Apart from the patents, apart from the vaccine manufacturers and producers, what are the tools and laws that we can make use of? During our last week's session, we did discuss about compulsory licensing. We did also discuss what are the rules and regulations that is under the ambit of the government under section 100 of the Patents Act as well. Apart from these compulsory licensing, apart from the government's protocol that can be enforced under section 100, there is an alternative strategy that happens to be called as voluntary licensing. So this article here is effectively asking us to implement the protocols of the voluntary licensing. Before we understand what is this voluntary licensing, let's have a brief idea with respect to the compulsory licensing. What is this compulsory licensing? Let's say there is a health emergency. The government does not have any other option to make sure that vaccines are provided, medicines are provided. Why? Because a particular drug or a vaccine in the market is currently being charged at a high cost or at an exorbitant cost. So people would not be able to get it, or there is no availability of the vaccine or the drug in the market. So what does the government do? The government does not consult the patent owner, instead asks one of the third company to start manufacturing a generic version of a particular drug or a vaccine. Here the patent owner is not consulted by the government, which means the government, because it realizes that there is a health emergency, asks one of its companies to produce what is called as the generic version of the drug or the vaccine. That is what is compulsory licensing. What this article suggests is an alternative to this called as the voluntary licensing. What is this voluntary licensing? Let me give you an example. Let's say there is a company A. This particular company A is the patent owner. Let's say it has a patent to produce this particular vaccine for about 20 years or whatever is the defined period. But what happens under voluntary licensing? Let's say there is a third party or a third company. Let's say B is the company. So this company B, which is not the patent owner, enters into a contract with this company A. This is happening on a voluntary basis. Since this is happening on a voluntary basis where they are entering into an agreement, entering into a contract on a voluntary basis between a patent owner, that is a company, and a third party, that is what is called as voluntary licensing. So the patent owner of this particular drug or the vaccine on his own is giving the permission to a third party to start producing this particular drug or the vaccine. That is what is called as voluntary licensing. Under compulsory licensing, what we had is the government did not consult the patent owner, but in the specific case there is a third party which is consulting the patent owner. They have certain terms and conditions, there are certain rules and obligations which the third party has to meet, which is called as the voluntary licensing. So now you might ask me a question: what is the advantage of this voluntary licensing? When you look into the advantages of the voluntary licensing, what happens? This is a licensee company. So this is an agent of the patent owner. Since permission has been given by the patent owner himself, there will be no cause of litigation. What would happen under, let's say, compulsory licensing? It may give rise to litigation. Why? Because there is a government, the government is violating certain rules and conditions of the Patent Act and is asking another company for producing a generic version. If this generic version is produced by a third company which is given permission by the government, who goes through the losses? It is the patent holder, which is where the patent holder can bring a case against the Union of India or a respective government, and ultimately it goes to the court of law. Since it goes to the court of law, what you actually witness is a lot of litigation. This is a time consuming process, and ultimately it does cost when it comes to the litigation as well. But when it comes to the voluntary licensing, since it is a preconceived, since it is an agreement where both have come together, what you have is the litigation is completely eliminated, the time consuming procedure is completely eliminated, and added to this, there might be a possibility of technology transfer from the patent owner to the licensee. So in this particular case, there might be a situation where technology transfer can also be done to a third party, a company which it has entered into agreement. Followed by this, let's say if this particular patent holder has given permission to one of the third companies in a developing countries, so the developing countries would be able to fight the menace of that particular disease. In the present situation, it is COVID-19, but it can be any other issue as well. It can be HIV/AIDS, it can be any other disease. In such a situation, the developing countries would be in a much better position to fight the menace or the issues that is emanating from that particular disease. Added to it, the company boosts its name as well. This increases the brand value of that particular company. So what they generate is goodwill with respect to the people. Why? Because they have entered into an agreement, they have given permission to the third party to produce this particular vaccine or a drug at an affordable price. Since that is happening, they generate goodwill in the name of people. So these are some of the advantages when it comes to the voluntary licensing. So what is this voluntary licensing? It is a contract between the patent holder company and a third party company where they enter into a contract, they have mutually agreed terms between both the companies, and ultimately both the companies would be able to make profits as well. Added to this, another advantage is if compulsory license is issued by the government, the generic version of the medicine, original medicine, will come up in the market. So this will be placed at a very low price. So if they have already entered into a voluntary licensing, they might get better prices as well. Why? Because this is an agreement, they have mutually agreed to the terms and conditions, so they would get much better royalty, they would also get much better prices as well. So it is better that these companies which are present in any other country enter into what is called as voluntary licensing, says this article. So the author here is speaking about drawing lessons from the HIV/AIDS program in the past. When you go back to the testing times of HIV and AIDS, this was also a problem for the global community, which is where during that particular period they had entered into voluntary licensing, and ultimately these medicines were given to the developing countries at an affordable prices. One such example is what we call as tenofovir, a first line treatment for HIV/AIDS, had come down in price from $200 to $500 per person per year to $39 per person per year in a low income country. How was this successful? We have a company in the developing country which had entered into contact with the patent holder company, and as a result, prices have come down drastically. In the present situation, the author goes on to say there are a number of avenues where voluntary licensing can be initiated and can be expanded. What are these avenues and the platforms? We have the United Nations Medicines Patent Pool and the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Technology Access Pool. So if companies who have patents in this, whether it is a vaccine or a drug, they want to ensure that they want what is called as the voluntary licensing, and there is a third party, there is a third company which also wants to enter into production, both these parties can look at these platforms and they can enter into agreement, and ultimately all the drugs and the vaccines can reach the developing countries at the affordable prices. So this is what the article speaks about. So the article further goes on to say that can we explore the idea of COVAX option instead of what is called as the voluntary licensing. The author says yes, it can be explored. But what is this COVAX program? This is a joint venture. Joint venture of whom? There are multiple organizations. Let's say World Health Organization. Then you have Center for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation. Then you have Gavi. Then you have United Nations Children Fund. All these organizations have come together. They have entered into agreements with the vaccine producers and drug makers so that they can collect these drugs and give to poor countries, low income countries on an equitable basis. But how will they get the money? There are rich countries who make contributions to this particular fund. Then there are NGOs like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other private organizations as well. They also make contributions as well. So all the contributions made to this particular COVAX fund will be collected. They will enter into agreement with all these companies which are producing the vaccines and the drugs, and the collected drugs on an equitable basis as per the need of the countries will be given under the COVAX option. But the author in this particular case says that during AIDS or the HIV issue, there was underfunding that had reported. A similar issue is currently happening when it comes to the COVID-19 as well. So COVAX option can be explored, but this might not be able to give enough generation of drugs and vaccine, says the author. Ultimately, the author roots for one of the parameters called as the voluntary licensing. So the way forward, the author says, is the voluntary licensing between the patent holder company as well as the company which is wanting to produce this vaccine or a drug. So going forward, since the COVID-19 is a menace to the global community, the global community has to come together. They have to fight this particular dreadful disease. So what we have to do is to provide social justice to the poor and the low income countries. Is what is this article all about? It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says fitful approach. The article here is speaking about WhatsApp privacy policy. In the month of February, WhatsApp decided that it has to update its privacy policy. Since they came up with a notification, there was a lot of hue and cry where people felt that their privacy would be violated. There were a number of people who switched platforms as well. They moved from WhatsApp to Signal. They moved from WhatsApp to Telegram, which is where WhatsApp realized that it has to communicate what is its intention so that it postponed this notification from implementation from month of February to the month of May 15. So what does it do? What was supposed to be executed in the month of February was postponed, and it was supposed to be executed in the month of May up until May 15. And finally, what we currently have is that this particular privacy policy has been updated. Reminders are being sent to people so that they can accept the terms and conditions of WhatsApp with respect to the new privacy policy. This is where the Government of India under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has issued a notification to WhatsApp clarifying, asking what is its privacy policy all about. When you go back and read its privacy policy, it clearly says that its parent company happens to be Facebook. Location of the person using WhatsApp is given to Facebook. The contact details are shared with Facebook, and if there are any business proposals, such is also sent to Facebook so that ads can be sent from Facebook into the integration module of WhatsApp. So this is basically for the profit generation of Facebook. But it had also clarified that when it comes to usage of WhatsApp, their privacy will not be violated. What did WhatsApp say? The WhatsApp said that in case there are people chatting with each other, since it is end-to-end encrypted, they will not be listening to this particular conversation. But if it is about business, if it is about chat with the business, then in such a situation, they can make use of this particular conversation, send the location, the number of the person who is using the WhatsApp so that ads can be pushed to this particular person. So the whole motive of this particular proposal by WhatsApp was about profit making. WhatsApp is a private company, so it has its priority set, but the problem is this meant that it would be violating certain terms and conditions as established by laws in India. What are these concerns? One, it is violating the privacy. When you look into the Constitution of India, yes, it does not explicitly mention that privacy as a part is in one of the articles. But when you look into the Supreme Court judgments, it is clearly said that right to privacy is part of Article 21. The Puttaswamy judgment has also declared that right to privacy is also a fundamental right under Article 21, which is why the government of India is now asking WhatsApp, why have you, the WhatsApp, come up with a discriminatory treatment to the Indian users? What is this discriminatory treatment? When you look into European laws, European standards, they have what is called as the General Data Protection Regulation. When WhatsApp is not imposing this privacy law or the privacy policy on the European people, why is it imposing the same on Indian users is the first question being asked by the Indian government. So the Indian government has asked that you, the WhatsApp, have violated some of the terms and conditions with respect to India's IT rules. What are these terms and conditions? Let's say you are collecting some information. This particular information collected by WhatsApp might be personal data or it can be the sensitive data, and WhatsApp has not clarified what personal data it is collecting, what sensitive data is collecting, how is it planning to use this particular data. Since the words and usage in this private policy is a bit ambiguous, it is a bit abstract, and it is creating a lot of confusion and imbroglio. What the government wants in this particular condition is the clarification from WhatsApp. So what has the government said? The government has said that you are practicing discriminatory practices and at the same time you are violating India's IT rules as well. The government has further clarified that WhatsApp currently has a dominant position when it comes to the communication channels. We have number of alternative channels, let's say Telegram, let's say Signal, or you can also have personal messages as well. But WhatsApp has the dominant position when it comes to Indian market. So this dominant position is currently being exploited by WhatsApp, says the government of India. This is the viewpoint of government of India. But what has been the response of WhatsApp? WhatsApp has been very clear because it's a business unit. They have their standards that is set. What WhatsApp is currently saying is when it comes to Europe, they have the General Data Protection Regulation. It currently bars such usage. It currently does not let a company extract the user information. It is clearly barred as per the General Data Protection Regulation. But as of now, Indian laws do not bar so, says WhatsApp. Added to this, if people want to stay with WhatsApp, they can stay with WhatsApp, and if they do not want, if they feel that privacy is getting violated, they may leave WhatsApp, says WhatsApp. Added to this, will people be completely eliminated or deleted from WhatsApp? No. People would be given reminders as well. If you're using WhatsApp, you would have these pop-ups coming up on your screen as well. Will that mean they'll delete your accounts? No. They would give you ample amount of time so that you actually accept their terms and conditions. If over a period of time you do not accept these terms and conditions, there might be suspension of few activities as well. This will again go on a case to case basis. You might be able to message, but you might not be able to receive the calls. Such will be decided by WhatsApp on a case to case basis. But as of now, the terms and conditions will have to be accepted by the people. Reminders would be sent. Suspension will not take place, but after a considerable period of time, which WhatsApp has not mentioned, their accounts may be declared inactive as well. That is what has been the response of WhatsApp. But the author here makes certain recommendations with respect to the government of India. What are these recommendations? The author here says WhatsApp happens to be a private company. It is based on profit making. So it has set its priorities right. But it is for the government of India to get its priorities right. Why? Because as of now, we do not have an explicit law when it comes to data protection. Yes, we might have the IT rules. Yes, we might have the Contract Act of 1872, but this is not explicitly a law with respect to data protection. So when we speak about data protection, it has to have a clear parameter when it comes to privacy. What are the laws, rules, regulations, policies and procedure? It should prevent any intrusion of a private company into the privacy mode by collecting the information, and it should also clarify that if a company is picking information, how is it collecting this information, where is it storing this information, how is it disseminating this personal information. All this will have to be clearly mandated under the law. The current IT rules or the Contract Act of 1872 does not have all of this. So the author says that going forward, the government will have to draft a legislation similar to that of General Data Protection Regulation. They have the European standards. A reading of this should be done, and India should evolve its own data protection laws, which is the need of the hour, says the author. So going forward, if privacy is the concern, the government will have to bring rules and regulations, draft a law, says the author. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says Israel Hamas reached truce after 11 days of fighting. We have been monitoring this particular issue where there was a conflict between Israel as well as Palestine. We have been monitoring this particular issue. We did discuss about the background as well. We did understand what was the root cause of this particular issue from the historical perspective to the current issue as well. But what this article says and speaks is about the truce and the ceasefire that have been entered by Israel and Hamas of Palestine. So let us try and understand why the ceasefire agreement was entered after 11 days of fighting between Palestine as well as Israel. When you go back to the year 2014, Israel as a country was able to launch ground operations in Palestine. They were also able to meet their strategy. They were able to also launch against the Hamas as well, and they were able to meet what their objectives were. But in the present situation, they were not able to conduct the ground operations. Why? If they had conducted the ground operations, they would have been in a position to achieve their objectives of eliminating the Hamas. But they were also scared if ground operations continued, they could also lose their soldiers as well. Their soldiers might also be killed as well. Which is why they were a bit cautious in their approach. What did the Israel do? Israel this time took up a particular cause of airstrikes. What is this airstrikes? On one side, you had Hamas from Palestine who were launching rockets. In order to prevent this, in order to act as a counter strategy, what Israel did was to launch airstrikes. But there was a major concern with respect to the airstrikes. What are these concerns? One, when you are conducting a ground operation, you would know who is your specific target. You would be able to kill that particular person or a specific target. But when it comes to airstrikes, you would be hitting a particular building, you would be hitting a ground area, but you would not know whether he is a civilian or a specific target. So what has happened in the specific case? Because Israel had launched airstrikes in Palestine against Hamas, there were scenarios where it had hit the civilian population and many civilians had also passed away as well. So all those countries which stood by Israel, which supported Israel, which said that Israel has the right to defend, had to back off in the present situation. They also started putting pressure on Israel because the airstrikes ultimately even killed the civilian population as well. Ideally, their target was Hamas because Hamas started launching the rockets, but because there were civilian deaths, which is why there was pressure from all the countries and ceasefire was being implemented. Added to this, ceasefire was also taken into picture because there was riot-like conditions in certain parts in Israel. Why? Because there were conflict between the Jews in Israel and the Arabs in the Palestine, and this had resulted in riots on the streets of Israel as well. In order to control this security threat emanating because of multiple issues, force from the United Nations, force from multiple countries, Israel and Hamas have currently entered into a ceasefire. So this ceasefire means that both these countries will not continue the violent actions that they had initiated in the past. So Israel will stop all the airstrikes in the present situation, and the Hamas will stop all the rocket operations as well. What next? What would happen after the ceasefire is what is very intriguing. When you go back to the past and when you read into the history books of the ceasefires that have taken place in the past, there might have been momentary ceasefires. But after a few days, what we have also seen that these were built on weak foundations as well. Because the foundations between Israel and Palestine are comparatively weaker, the ceasefires in the past have not been successful. So, what we have to wait and watch whether this ceasefire taken up by Israel and Hamas representing Palestine in the present situation will it be successful or not. As we speak about this particular issue, another article in Hindu also says that there have been issues, skirmishes and clashes between the Palestinian protesters and Israeli police at the Al Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem hours after truce in Gaza. So we do not know whether the ceasefire is going to be successful or not. But only thing that we can do is to pray for an end to this particular conflict between Israel and Palestine and hope there are no issues or human lives that are lost when it comes to the civilians on both the sides. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says UP to declare black fungus notifiable disease. What is this notifiable disease? Any disease that is required by law to be reported to the government authorities is what is called as the notifiable disease. What do we mean by it? We have the medical practitioners. It can be the doctors, it can be the nurses, it can be the doctors in the government, or it can be the doctors in the private. Let's say there is one of the disease in the present situation. It happens to be mucormycosis. So any other disease, if notified by the government, all these medical practitioners like the doctors, the nurses in the government sector and in the private sector will have to immediately say to the government authorities as per the guidelines given by the government authorities. So let's say if they have to call, they have to immediately call up the government authorities as given under the guidelines, or they have to draft an email and say what exactly this disease is all about and immediately have to notify the government authorities as given under the guidelines. So the collection of the information given to this particular government authority and to the government will help them to monitor this particular disease, and it will also help them to issue warnings to the people so that ultimately they can bring an end to this particular disease. So what is the significance of this? This will allow the government to intervene, give information to the people and prevent the spread of this particular disease. So the intervention will be made by the government and they will also prevent the spread of this highly infectious disease. They will also keep track of what is happening with respect to disease and also formulate a plan for the elimination of this particular disease. So basically this particular information will have to be given by the medical practitioners to the government so that they can monitor, warn people, prevent the spread and plan an effective action plan. In case the medical practitioners do not follow these steps and if they have violated the guidelines given by the government, this can also be imposed with punishment as well, and this will also lead to a criminal offense and all the necessary actions against the defaulters can be taken up by the government. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says rules for insurance firms control tweaked after FDI ceiling raised to 74%. Another article, Supreme Court, personal guarantors liable for corporate debt. Both these articles will be discussed in economy this week lectures because this is more to do with economy and this will require more information. We will have economy this week lectures delivering about both these issues. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. What do you understand by voluntary licensing? Should countries and companies explore voluntary licensing to enhance access to essential COVID vaccines and medicines? Discuss. Next question. There is a growing demand for India to write laws on data protection and privacy in the wake of WhatsApp privacy policy examine. So please write all your answers on the comment section. peer review, give positive feedback to your friends' answers. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.